Have you ever stopped to think about the impact an act of kindness can have? Meet Yolanda, a 90-year-old woman living on the streets, with nothing but a few coins and a distant hope. Her life takes an unexpected turn when Marcos, a stranger, decides to help her in an extraordinary way. But what seemed like a simple act of generosity quickly turns into an intense and emotional search for Yolanda's lost daughter. With each passing moment, the pressure increases. What if Yolanda never finds the love she so desperately desires? Imagine the joy and emotion of a reunion after so many years apart. Don't miss this moving story of hope and compassion. Stay with us to discover how kindness and determination can change lives. Before we continue, I would like you to check if you are already subscribed to my channel. I will be happy to have you with me always. It was a cold and cloudy morning, the kind of day when the wind seemed to cut the face of anyone who dared to leave the house. Yolanda, a 90-year-old woman, felt the weight of the years and the sleepless nights spent on the city streets. Her hair, once black and full of life, was now gray and thin, and her face, marked by deep wrinkles, told stories of a life full of challenges and resilience. With an effort that seemed immense for her fragile body, Yolanda got up from the corner where she had slept the night before, wrapped in a thin blanket that barely managed to keep the cold away. She had a clear goal that morning: to buy some bread. Counting her few coins, she headed towards the bakery that was a few blocks away. Each step was a victory, a small triumph against the cold and fatigue. When she finally arrived at the bakery, the smell of fresh bread and hot coffee enveloped her, bringing a momentary feeling of comfort. Yolanda entered hesitantly, aware of her worn appearance and the curious looks of the other customers. But she did not let herself be shaken. She walked to the counter where Letitia, the attendant, was serving a customer. Letitia, a kind-hearted young woman, noticed Yolanda's presence and smiled warmly. It was rare to see such a genuine smile directed at her, and it warmed the old lady's heart. Yolanda held out her trembling hand, showing the coins she had so carefully counted. "Good morning, my dear. I would like to buy a loaf of bread, please," Yolanda said in a soft voice, almost a whisper. Letitia, touched by Yolanda's determination and dignity, took the freshest bread she had and put it in a paper bag. She was about to say something when the manager, Bruno, appeared behind the counter. Bruno was a businessman, always concerned with the image and profit of the bakery. He frowned when he saw Yolanda. "What's going on here?" Bruno asked, his voice full of disdain. "This lady just wants to buy a loaf of bread, sir," Letitia replied, trying to remain calm. "She's bothering the customers. What if she tries to steal?" "We can't risk it," Bruno said, looking directly at Yolanda with a cold gaze. Yolanda felt a pang of shame and sadness. She knew she didn't look the best, but she never thought someone would treat her so harshly. Before she could say anything, a man who had been watching the scene approached. Marcos, a middle-aged businessman, felt his heart fill with indignation at the way Bruno had treated Yolanda. Marcos was in the bakery, watching the scene attentively. He was a middle-aged, successful man known for his generosity and empathy. Seeing the way Bruno treated Yolanda, he felt deeply uncomfortable and decided to intervene. As Yolanda held the bread, ready to leave, Marcos stepped forward. "Wait a moment, ma'am," he said, his voice firm but gentle. He walked over to the counter and looked directly at Bruno. "I'll pay for her bread," he declared, taking his wallet out of his pocket. Bruno looked at Marcos, a little surprised, but said nothing. He knew who Marcos was, one of the most respected and influential customers in the area. "As you wish," Bruno murmured, looking away. Marcos paid for the bread and then turned to Yolanda. "Ma'am, let's get something else. One loaf of bread is not enough to feed someone for the day," he said, with a welcoming smile. Yolanda was perplexed, but could not refuse the kindness. Marcos picked up a tray and began to select items: a hearty sandwich, an orange juice, an apple, and a muffin. He handed the tray to Letitia, who was moved by the scene. "Please put this on the bill too," he asked. Letitia did everything quickly, and Yolanda, with tears in her eyes, thanked him repeatedly. "You are very kind, sir. I don't know how to thank you." Marcos put his hand on Yolanda's shoulder. "No need to thank me. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity," he said, looking at Bruno meaningfully. "It's inhumane to treat someone like that just because they don't have enough money." Bruno, feeling embarrassed, mumbled some kind of excuse and walked away. Letitia smiled at Marcos, admiring his courage and kindness. "Thank you for doing this," she said. "I wanted to help, but—" "You did what you could," Marcos interrupted her. "And that's already a lot. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise." He turned back to Yolanda. "Come on, ma'am. I'll take you to a place where you can eat in peace." Yolanda, holding her precious lunch, followed Marcos with cautious steps. As they walked, she told him a little about her life, and Marcos listened attentively and empathetically. For him, it wasn't just about giving him food. It was about giving respect and compassion to someone who had clearly been forgotten by society. At the nearby restaurant, Marcos and Yolanda sat at a table. She began to eat slowly, savoring each bite. Marcos took the opportunity to criticize Bruno's attitude once again. "We can't let people like him dictate how we treat others. Everyone deserves to be treated with compassion, regardless of their situation." Yolanda nodded, moved. "You are a very good man. The world needs more people like you." Marcos smiled modestly. "I believe that we can all make a difference, even with small gestures. And today, I was lucky enough to be able to help you." They continued to talk, and Marcos promised himself that he would do more to help people like Yolanda. He knew that although he couldn't change the world alone, he could at least make a difference in the life of one person at a time. As Yolanda and Marcos shared a meal at the bakery, a sense of warmth and familiarity began to grow between them. Yolanda was grateful for the unexpected kindness, and Marcos was curious to learn more about the resilient woman's life. Between bites of bread and sips of coffee, Yolanda began to pour out her heart, telling pieces of her life that had been kept hidden for too long. Marcos listened intently, each word Yolanda said painting a picture of a life full of ups and downs, love and loss. Then, in the midst of one of these stories, something familiar caught his attention. "You know," Yolanda said with a distant, wistful look in her eyes, "my daughter Anna used to bring me to this bakery when she was little. We would spend hours here talking and laughing. Anna always had a kind heart, and a smile that would light up any room." Marcos froze for a moment, his mind racing back to his own younger days. The name Anna resonated in his memory, bringing back a flood of emotions and memories. He looked at Yolanda, his eyes now full of surprise and curiosity. "Excuse me, Mrs. Yolanda," Marcos said, trying to control the excitement in his voice. "You said your daughter's name is Anna? Did she happen to study at the local school nearby?" Yolanda smiled, her eyes shining with tears of longing. "Yes, my dear Anna studied here. She was a brilliant student, always dedicated and full of dreams." Marcos felt his heart race. "I knew an Anna at school. She was very special to me. We were great friends, but life separated us over time. Could it be the same Anna?" Yolanda's eyes widened in surprise. "Marcos? Are you Marcos? Anna talked about you so much. She said you were her best friend, someone she could always trust." Marcos smiled, now with a mixture of happiness and nostalgia. "Yes, it's me. Anna and I were very close. We lost touch, but I always thought about her." Yolanda wiped a tear that was running down her face. "Anna always spoke of you with such affection. She moved to another city to follow her dreams, and I ended up staying here, losing touch with her over the years." Marcos felt an even deeper connection with Yolanda. He realized that fate had put him there for a reason. They continued to talk, sharing touching stories about Anna, remembering the happy times they had both lived with her. Marcos told Yolanda about the pranks he and Anna got up to at school, the afternoons they spent together studying and dreaming about the future. Yolanda, in turn, talked about how Anna was always a loving and dedicated daughter, who never stopped worrying about others, even in the most difficult moments. As the conversation deepened, Yolanda and Marcos felt as if they were growing closer not only to each other, but also to Anna, who now seemed so present in their shared memories. The connection they had with Anna served as a link that united their lives in an unexpected and deeply meaningful way. At that moment, Marcos decided that he had to do more for Yolanda. He could not let her return to the streets after everything she had been through and after discovering this very special connection with Anna. He felt a renewed determination in his heart and knew that destiny had given him a new mission: to care for Yolanda, just as he would have cared for Anna. And so on that cold, cloudy day, in a small bakery in the city, the past and the present intertwined in a magical way, bringing hope and new possibilities for the future. Yolanda and Marcos knew that their lives were about to change, and that together they could create a new chapter filled with love, compassion, and unforgettable memories. Marcos couldn't stop thinking about Yolanda and how difficult her life must be. Determined to do more, he approached her after lunch. "Ms. Yolanda, I would like to offer you something more than just a meal. How about coming with me to my house? There you can rest and feel safe for a while." Yolanda hesitated for a moment, surprised by the unexpected offer. "You would really do that for me? You don't even know me well." Marcos smiled warmly. "Kindness needs no introduction. I have a guest room that you can use. Come on, it will be my pleasure to help." With a shy nod, Yolanda agreed. They left the restaurant and got into Marcos's car. The drive to his house was uneventful, and Marcos took the opportunity to ask more about Yolanda's life. She told stories of her youth, of difficult times and moments of happiness that now seemed distant. Marcos listened attentively, feeling a growing connection with the woman at his side. Arriving at Marcos's house, Yolanda was struck by the simplicity and coziness of the place. It was a welcoming home, with comfortable furniture and a warm atmosphere. "This is your home," Marcos said as he held the door open. "Feel free to stay as long as you need." He showed Yolanda the guest room, which was small but very well appointed. It had a comfortable bed, a closet for clothes, and a window that let in the sunlight. "I hope you like it," he said. "You can rest a little while I make you something to eat later." Yolanda couldn't hold back her tears. "This is wonderful, Marcos. I don't know how to thank you." Marcos just smiled and said, "You don't need to thank me. It's a pleasure to help. Get some rest, and if you need anything, I'll be in the kitchen." While Yolanda rested, Marcos went to the kitchen and began preparing a home-cooked meal. He made a warm, nourishing soup, baked some fresh bread, and prepared a colorful salad. He wanted Yolanda to feel cared for and appreciated. Later, Yolanda woke up to find the table set with a delicious meal. They sat together and ate, talking about many things. Marcos told funny stories from his childhood, and Yolanda laughed, feeling lighter and happier than she had in a long time. After dinner, Marcos showed Yolanda the bathroom and offered her clean, comfortable clothes. "Tomorrow we can see how we can help more," he said. "For now, just rest and know that you are safe here." Yolanda smiled, feeling deep gratitude. "You are an angel, Marcos. Thank you for everything." Marcos gave her a warm hug. "We'll get through this together, Dona Yolanda. You're not alone anymore." That night, Yolanda slept soundly for the first time in years, feeling protected and cared for. And Marcos, lying in his bed, felt an inner peace, knowing that he had done the right thing. Their story was just beginning, and he was determined to make a real difference in Yolanda's life. The next morning, Marcos woke up with renewed determination. He went down to the kitchen and began preparing a special breakfast. He knew that this day would mark the beginning of a new journey for Yolanda, and he wanted her to feel valued from the start. As he was frying eggs and making toast, Sophia, his maid, came into the kitchen. Sophia was a kind woman with a big heart. She had worked for Marcos for years and considered him more than a boss, but a friend. Marcos told her about Yolanda and the situation he had witnessed the day before. Sophia listened intently, her eyes filled with compassion. "We'll take good care of her, Sophia," Marcos said. "She deserves some comfort and dignity." Sophia nodded determinedly. "You can leave it to me, Mr. Marcos. We'll do everything we can." Together, they brought breakfast to Yolanda, who was still in the guest room. She was surprised to see the generous meal: eggs, toast, fresh fruit, and a glass of juice. "Good morning, Mrs. Yolanda," Sophia said with a warm smile. "I hope you slept well." Yolanda smiled, feeling welcomed. Sleeping well was a wonderful gift. "Thank you, Sophia." "Thank you, Marcos." After breakfast, Sophia showed Yolanda the bathroom, where she could take a hot shower. Yolanda was thrilled to see the new clothes Sophia had laid out for her. A simple but pretty dress and a pair of comfortable shoes. It was a small gesture, but it meant a lot to someone who had spent so much time on the streets. While Yolanda was taking a shower, Marcos and Sophia discussed the next step. "Let's take her to the doctor," Marcos suggested. "She needs a complete checkup. Then we can think of other ways to help her get back on her feet." Sophia agreed. And we can also take stock of what she needs. Hygiene items, more clothes, maybe even some pampering to make her feel good. Yolanda came out of the bathroom feeling renewed. Dressed in her new clothes, she looked like a different person. Sophia helped comb her hair and applied some moisturizer to her face and hands. There you go, Mrs. Yolanda. You look beautiful. Marcos watched the transformation with a smile. Are we ready to go to the doctor? Yolanda nodded, excited. You guys are amazing. I don't know how to thank you for all this. Right now, your smile is already a great reward, Marcos said, helping her into the car. They spent the morning at the doctor's office, where Yolanda was treated with the utmost care and attention. The doctor praised Marcos and Sophia's initiative and assured them that, with the proper care, Yolanda could have a good quality of life. Back home, Marcos and Sophia prepared a special lunch. They talked about the next steps and little by little, they created a plan to help Yolanda get back on her feet. Amidst laughter and stories, a bond of friendship and affection was formed that would change everyone's lives forever. Marcos and Sophia didn't just provide Yolanda with a roof over her head, food and clothing. They provided hope, dignity, and most of all, a sense of belonging. Yolanda, in turn, found her joy in life again and the certainty that she would never be alone again. Marcos knew that Yolanda's stay at his house was just the beginning. He wanted to make sure she had a home of her own, a place where she could feel safe and independent again. So he began looking for an apartment that would be warm and comfortable, a place that Yolanda could call her own. After days of searching, Marcos found the perfect place. It was a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood with a lovely view of a park. The building was well kept, with friendly neighbors and a sense of community that Marcos knew would be important to Yolanda. The apartment had a cozy living room, a functional kitchen, and a bedroom with a window that let in the morning sunlight. Marcos was thrilled with his find and couldn't wait to show Yolanda around. He took her to the apartment and as he opened the door he said, "Yolanda, I want you to see this place. I think it would be perfect for you." Yolanda walked in and was amazed at what she saw. The apartment was exactly what she had always dreamed of but never thought she could have. "Marcos, this is incredible. I never imagined I would have a place like this to call my own. Thank you from the bottom of my heart." Marcos smiled, pleased with her reaction. "You deserve it, Yolanda. This is the first step towards your new life. But there is more. I want Sophia to be your caregiver. She will take care of you and make sure you have everything you need. And don't worry about the costs. I will cover everything." Sophia, who was standing next to Yolanda, put a hand on her shoulder and said, "I would be honored to take care of you, Ms. Yolanda. Let's make this apartment a real home." Yolanda felt tears fill her eyes. It was a mixture of joy, gratitude, and relief. She never imagined that, after so many hardships, she would meet such generous and kind people. "I don't know how to thank you both. You have changed my life in ways I could never repay." Marcos squeezed Yolanda's hand affectionately. "No need to thank me. The important thing is that you are safe and happy. We will help you adapt to this new home." Over the next few days, Marcos and Sophia helped Yolanda move into her new apartment. They decorated the place with comfortable furniture, added personal touches like plants and pictures, and stocked the refrigerator with delicious food. Sophia organized a schedule to ensure that Yolanda had all the assistance she needed, from preparing meals to going to the doctor. Yolanda quickly adapted to her new home. She loved waking up to the sunlight streaming through the window and taking walks in the nearby park. Sophia's constant presence, always ready to help and talk, made her feel less alone. Little by little, Yolanda began to rediscover the joy of life. One afternoon, as Yolanda and Sophia were having tea in the living room, Yolanda said, "Sophia, you and Marcos are like angels in my life. I feel so lucky to have found you." Sophia smiled and replied, "We feel lucky too, Miss Yolanda. You have brought joy and purpose into our lives." Marcos visited regularly, bringing flowers and stories to share. Their bond grew stronger, forming a true chosen family. Yolanda's new life was a testament to kindness and compassion, showing that even in the darkest moments, there is always hope in people willing to make a difference. And so Yolanda, who once walked into a bakery with just a few coins to buy bread, now lived surrounded by love, care, and dignity. She never felt alone again, knowing that she had a new family who supported her through thick and thin. Yolanda, sitting in her favorite armchair by the window, gazed out at the horizon with a serene smile on her face. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and she felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced in decades. Her new apartment was more than just a place to live. It was a symbol of a new beginning. Since moving here, Yolanda's life had changed dramatically. She now had a warm home, a space of her own where she felt safe and secure. Gone were the cold nights on the streets, the constant fear, and the loneliness. In their place were warmth, comfort, and most of all friendship. Marcos, who had rescued her in her time of need, remained a constant presence in her life. He would visit her regularly, bringing little surprises that would make her smile. One afternoon he brought her an old photo album filled with memories they had shared with Ana, Marcos's former love and Yolanda's daughter. They would spend hours flipping through the pages, laughing and reminiscing. Sofia, the devoted caregiver, had also become a dear friend. She not only took care of Yolanda's daily needs, but also shared stories and laughter, filling the house with a vibrant energy. Sofia knew how to prepare Yolanda's favorite foods and always found time to sit and talk, making Yolanda feel valued and loved. One afternoon, Yolanda was organizing her few possessions when she came across an old photograph of Ana. Her eyes filled with tears of longing, but also of gratitude. She knew that if Ana were there, she would be happy to see her mother cared for and supported. Yolanda placed the photo in a frame next to her bed, as a constant reminder of the love that had united them. The neighborhood where Yolanda now lived had also welcomed her with open arms. The neighbors were friendly and always willing to help. Once a week, she joined a sewing group with other women in the building. Together they made blankets and clothes that were donated to charities, a job that gave Yolanda a new purpose and made her feel useful again. One Sunday morning, Marcos arrived with great news. He had organized a small surprise party for Yolanda to celebrate her new home and the new phase of her life. The living room was decorated with balloons and flowers, and the friends Yolanda had made in the neighborhood were all there. There was music, laughter, and an abundance of affection in the air. When Yolanda walked into the living room and saw everyone there, her eyes filled with tears of joy. She couldn't believe that so many people cared about her and wanted to celebrate her happiness. "You don't know how much this means to me," she said, overcome with emotion. "I never thought I would find so much love and support. You are my family now." With a warm smile, Marcos raised his glass and toasted, "To Yolanda, who showed us the true meaning of resilience and gratitude. May this new chapter of your life be filled with joy, love, and peace." Everyone raised their glasses and toasted Yolanda's new life. The party continued with more stories, laughter, and above all, a deep sense of community and friendship. Yolanda, sitting next to Marcos and Sofia, felt happier than she had ever imagined possible. That night, when she finally lay down in her comfortable bed, Yolanda reflected on everything that had happened since the day she walked into that bakery. Her life had changed in unimaginable ways, and she was deeply grateful for every moment. Finally, after so many years of hardship, she had found a safe place to live and friends who supported her unconditionally. Yolanda fell asleep with a smile on her face, knowing that the future was full of possibilities, and that she would never be alone again. Marcos and Sofia helped Yolanda search for her daughter Ana. The morning was beginning with a clear and promising sky when Yolanda, Marcos, and Sofia got together for a special mission: to find Ana, the daughter Yolanda hadn't seen in many years. Yolanda was excited and nervous at the same time, and Marcos and Sofia were determined to do everything they could to help. Marcos, with his methodical and attentive way, decided that the first task would be to review all the clues that could lead to Ana. He knew they would need a well-structured plan. In Yolanda's cozy living room, they sat around a table with a large stack of papers, old photos, and some letters that Yolanda had saved. Marcos and Sofia looked through Ana's photos, trying to capture any detail that might be useful. Sofia, who was known for her skills with computers and social networks, began to scour social networks for any mention of Ana. She typed her name in various places, looking for any clue. Meanwhile, Marcos helped Yolanda organize the letters and papers, looking for old addresses or other details that could lead to Ana. Each discovery, no matter how small, was treated with enthusiasm. One old letter revealed an address for an old friend of Ana's, and Marcos immediately called her. He explained the situation and asked if she had any recent information about Ana. The friend, moved by Yolanda's story, promised to check it out and get in touch. While waiting for a response, Marcos and Sofia decided to visit some of the old places where Anna used to hang out. They went to a coffee shop where Anna used to meet with friends and an old library where she used to read. At each place, they talked to people who might remember her. The day was full of hopes and expectations, but also of challenges and frustrations. Sofia managed to get some useful information by talking to a former colleague of Anna's, who remembered that Anna had moved to a nearby city a few years ago. This information was a huge breakthrough, and everyone felt a surge of hope. Marcos immediately began making plans for the next stage of the search. With the new address in hand, Marcos and Sofia helped Yolanda plan a trip to the neighboring city. They prepared a detailed itinerary, making sure Yolanda was comfortable and ready for the trip. The day of the trip arrived, and Yolanda was a little apprehensive, but also excited about the prospect of finally finding her daughter. During the trip, Marcos and Sofia chatted with Yolanda, trying to keep her spirits up and distract her from any possible anxieties. They told funny stories and made the trip as pleasant as possible. When they arrived in the neighboring city, they were greeted by cold and crisp weather, but Yolanda's hope warmed her heart. The first stop was the address they had found. It was a small apartment in an old but well-kept building. Yolanda and Marcos went up to the right floor, and when they knocked on the door, Yolanda's heart was pounding. A young woman answered, and Marcos explained the situation gently. To everyone's surprise and joy, the young woman was actually a friend of Anna's who knew where she lived. She led them to Anna's house and made sure Yolanda was comfortable while they waited. Finally, the door opened and Anna appeared, looking curious and scared. The moment Yolanda and Anna were reunited was filled with emotion. The tears of joy and the tight hugs said more than any words could express. Anna, upon seeing her mother, was deeply moved and apologized for the years of distance. Yolanda, her heart overflowing with love, hugged her tightly and said, "I've waited for this moment my whole life." Marcos and Sofia watched from the sidelines, tears in their eyes, feeling the satisfaction of having helped reunite a family. It was a day that would remain etched in everyone's memory as a powerful reminder that hope and determination can overcome any obstacle. At the end of the day, Yolanda, Anna, Marcos and Sofia gathered for a home-cooked meal filled with laughter, stories and lots of love. The family was finally reunited, and the search journey had ended successfully, leaving everyone with warm hearts and a sense of accomplishment.